One of the, let me just throw it out there. Did Jim Comey fabricate this whole Russian collusion narrative on the FBI side and allow himself to be misled by Brennan in order to cover his own tracks for getting deceived by fake Russian intel? Here's the story in the Wall Street Journal. Holman Jenkins, by the way, as I've said repeatedly, has been all over this story from day one. If you Google Holman Jenkins, Wall Street Journal, Comey, you can read a library of probably 10 stories on this specific thing that he's been all over. The title of the piece today is "The Comey Cover-Up Unravels." The FBI, the CIA, and the press all have much to be embarrassed about. What happened here? I'm always hesitant to talk about this because it appears like we're giving Comey a pass sometimes, and we're not. One of the, let me just throw it out there. Did Jim Comey fabricate this whole Russian collusion narrative on the FBI side and allow himself to be misled by Brennan in order to cover his own tracks for getting deceived by fake Russian intel? That's a lot. That's a lot right there. I get it. But try to digest what I'm saying here as I walk through the pieces of it. So let's go through piece number one. So Jim Comey gives this press conference July 5th about Hillary Clinton. I addressed it last week. You remember the press conference? He gets up there, lays out all the elements of the crime Hillary Clinton's team may have committed with the email server. And then at the end of the press conference, he says, well, nobody would prosecute this case. So Mrs. Clinton, goodbye. See you later. Thanks for playing, man. We really appreciate it. And everybody was like, wait, what just happened? One of the budding, sprouting kind of narratives about why Comey may have done that is some Dutch intelligence officials in 2016 fed to the American government. I thought Chuck Todd said this was no good, Joe. I thought we shouldn't be dealing with foreign intel when it comes to elections. Whatever. Oh, yeah. Some Dutch intel officials feed to the American government in the Obama administration what appears to be a Russian intercept of an email between Debbie Wasserman Schultz and some George Soros associated people. And in that email, Wasserman Schultz allegedly writes, hey, listen, don't worry, the fix is in for Hillary Clinton. Loretta Lynch, the attorney general, is going to make this go away. Follow me. It's going to be a lot of info, but it'll make sense at the end if you keep the headline in mind. Was Comey deceived by a piece of Russian intel, made a bad call, and then invented the collusion narrative to go back and create an excuse as to why he did what he did? So track me here. The Dutch give this to us. Hey, look, we've got this Russian piece of intelligence. Now, why would that part matter? Because remember, everybody, Comey, Loretta Lynch, all of them, one, they all want jobs in the what's soon to be Hillary Clinton presidential administration. Nobody thinks Donald Trump's going to win, folks. Put yourself in the mindset 3 years ago, not the mindset now where obviously we know Donald Trump won. Nobody thinks he's going to win. They're all lobbying for jobs, and they all want to make sure, because remember, this is an important point. Pay very close attention. At one point during a Republican debate, everyone's asked to raise their hand if they're going to support the election results. Remember that? Who's the only one who doesn't raise their hand? Yes. Donald Trump. Trump says, I want it. Yeah. Fairly enough, Joe. Trump says, I want to see what happens. Why would I support a result if it's cheating? Right. Of course, all the other, everybody else raised their hand because, it's just what they do with these stupid raise your hand things, right? But Trump says, I'm not sure if it's a legitimate election, but if not, I want to see what happened. The Democrats at the time, who are positive, the media, even Republicans are sure Hillary Clinton's going to be the next president, start to get worried, Joe, that what? Not that Hillary's going to lose. They're worried that the election results that they expect to be a landslide are going to be questioned by Trump, and Trump's going to make a big stink about it after the election as a failed presidential candidate and cause Hillary a lot of heartburn. Basically, Joe, they're worried Trump is going to do what Hillary, in fact, and the Obama administration did after Trump won. Try to discredit the presidency. They always accuse you of what they want to do themselves. So, in order to get out ahead of that, Comey and the other Spygate conspirators involved in this are concerned about clearing the deck. In other words, let's get all this negative info out here. Let's clear the deck now. That way, when Hillary Clinton wins, nobody can say, hey, man, why were you hiding this Russian intel about Debbie Wasserman Schultz and the DNC, conspiring with Loretta Lynch to make the case go away? You get it?
Yeah, man.
The Bureau's concerned, Jim Comey specifically, we believe, according to the story, he's not really concerned about anything other than clearing the deck for Hillary Clinton and making sure she gets to declare herself a legitimate president. So he goes out, he gives this presser, he lays this all out. And it's now believed he may have done so because he thought the Russians had this email. What's the problem? The email is believed to be a fake. In other words, whether the Russians had this Debbie Wasserman Schultz email or not may be entirely irrelevant because it's not a real email. Listen, I'm no fan of Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and to be candid and lay the information out for you, we're not sure if it's fake or not. Although the people I trust and sources I have told me they believe it was a fake. It was a disinformation campaign to get the FBI to do something to impact the 2016 election, which sucker Jim Comey, according to the story, fell right into the trap. He comes out July 5th and gives the presser to clear the deck to make sure later on that this can't come out and that he cleared him, and just to clear the deck on Hillary to make sure it's all out there. What's the problem? Well, Jenkins points out some interesting things in his piece. Why has this not come out yet? Well, he has a theory on one reason. He says, listen, this particular narrative that this fake piece of Russian intelligence about this email may not come out because the Trump team doesn't want it out there either. Not my theory, his. But again, I owe you all the information so you can formulate actual opinions. Why? Because nothing bothers the president more, and rightfully so, by bogus, spurious allegations that his election was illegitimate. If a Russian disinformation campaign to produce fake intelligence was slipped into the FBI to get Jim Comey to make a rash decision about a press conference on Hillary Clinton, which impacted the election, enigma wrapped in a mystery, it will feed in to the leftist narrative that Trump wasn't legitimately elected. It's not true. There's no evidence of that at all. Hillary Clinton couldn't find Wisconsin on a map. But Holm and Jenkins' theory here is that there's kind of bipartisan interest in making this thing go away. Now, takeaway number 2, which is the important part, was Comey's efforts, feverish, desperate, frothing at the mouth efforts to make collusion happen when he knew damn well by January of 2017, because he interviewed Steele's sources, and Steele's their only source about Russian collusion. Steele's sub-sources allegedly feeding him the information are interviewed in January of 2017. Comey knows the case is totally bogus. So a lot of smart people out there have been saying, listen, Comey hates Trump. It's clear as day. He loves Hillary Clinton. But Comey's not dumb. Why would Comey continue to push and advance this Russian narrative, knowing he's been deceived by Brennan, and knowing he's been deceived by Christopher Steele, and knowing he has nothing? Well, this fake Russian intel may provide a clue. According to Jenkins, this is where it gets really interesting. At some point, Comey figures out this Russian intel may be fake. There's an allegation in the New York Times that he leaks portions of that to the New York Times to give it some sense of seriousness and gravitas.
Okay.
To legitimize his actions. But Jenkins says something fascinating here, that were the FISA warrants and the spying operation on the Trump team, looking at the emails, reading Page's emails, getting the FISA warrant on Page, trying to get a FISA warrant on Papadopoulos and others, was that an effort to hope and pray, Joe, fingers crossed, that they found that fake Russian intel there too?
You just heard the Dan Bongino Show. You can also get Dan's podcasts on iTunes or SoundCloud and follow Dan on Twitter 24/7 at DBongino.